Gordo is Gordo 3, 2.
He's on the chair.
Oh, he is on the chair. He's loafing. Hey.
Darkcast Network. Indie pods with a dark side.
Welcome to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. And I'm your host, Alana.
And I'm Kelsey.
We are back for what I think is episode 185. Man, we're still
That's
alive.
what I have.
I know, I have to look for confirmation. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, we just got done picking some episodes, so that's when it gets a little confusing.
Yeah.
And
You're like numbering out a couple episodes from now, and then you're like, wait, what are we doing today?
when does this come out? Yeah, and then what are we doing for Patreon? Which is a subtle plug to go check out the latest Patreon post, which now has our battlefields plus our bonus battlefield, the Battle of Killicranky.
Yes. A very fun episode.
Yeah, that was fun. I was like, in a ghost story, we've got a creepy little girl. I'm doing like the description and everything. I'm like, and a ghost story that seemed oddly erotic? No. I was like, think ghost thighs and sweaty guys.
Oh, yeah.
The ghosts were very sweaty. Don't you remember? You commented on it.
Sweaty elbows and I don't know why it was elbows. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was something about a sweaty elbow too. I was like, what?
God, it could have been. It's a good point for sweat to drip off of. I don't know. No, it was
what a sensual joint, an elbow. The most sensual of joints.
Yes. Almost up there with your knee pit.
in between your toes.
Ooh. That just sounds like we're naming places you can shoot yourself up. Jesus, no.
Yeah.
Wow. No, I'm okay. I was almost gonna oh, should I do a fun fact? And then I kind of mentioned to you, which has nothing to do with any of this, but that there's I just learned from some video that there's different tartans, like not for just different clans, like Fraser and I don't know, Anderson and Mackenzie and whatever, but like Coca-Cola has a tartan, and so does Christmas and the panda bears at the Edinburgh Zoo. It's just like, wait, what?
That's like wild to me.
I think my favorite might have been theirs because they had one for Iron Brew, which is this disgustingly orange-looking pop type drink that they drink in Scotland.
Oh,
it's basically like, to me, it looks like orange pop. I have not had it.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, but like, its whole ad campaign sort of thing was that it's like Iron Brew, you know, it's for manly men because it's squeezed out of iron, or like bullshit, right? Like it's beloved by the Scottish culture.
Damn. I know my brother likes orange pop. I have not had it in a really long time.
Yeah, Pat can do like the cream soda and stuff, which I find too sugary. Yeah, I don't know. Give me some A&W root beer though. That shit.
Yep, that's
rocks.
my favorite.
Oh,
A&W
so
root beer all day long.
Make us a float, baby. I think they have that in America.
Or Berg's. Yeah. Berg's root beer is also fantastic.
Oh wait, I know Barks. Barks has Bite. Is there Berks too?
I thought so.
Oh. No. Now I'm down a root beer tangent. I can't do this. I would love to editing the last episode. It was funny, but I was also like, oh my god, I was getting on the tangents by the end of it.
Yeah.
Here, there, and everywhere. That's okay. That's why I have Kelsey to rein me in when we make her tell her stories first. And we got out most of our banter. Kelsey's car is having problems. My car is no longer having as many problems. Gordo is probably annoying her now because she keeps looking over her shoulder.
Gordo. Hey. He's crawling into the shelf. I don't know why. Buddy.
Into the shelf. Yeah. So we did a thing this episode where we, I guess, talked about people that shoulda, woulda, coulda died, or maybe did die briefly. some near-death experiences, some survival story-ish stuff, which is always interesting to me, whether it's like they died and they see a bright light and felt the most love in the world, or someone hits their head and they live a whole other life and then they come out and they see a red lamp and they're like, oh my god, that wasn't even real. Like, they can be crazy and bizarre, and they really run the gamut. I don't know. It's a big well to draw from.
Gordo, for fuck's sake. Come on, go do something else or you're getting locked out of the room.
He's gonna get locked out of the room. That was his second chance. 3 strikes, you're out.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
I don't even know what you would classify mine as, because I don't know much about like her side of things, because this is quite old when this happened. Okay. So it's kind of a legend. Some people argue it didn't happen.
Oh, that's fun, because it's steeped in mystery, like most of history.
Yeah. Definitely, I'd say.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
That does not sound familiar.
No, it's the Legend of Margorie McCall, spelled M-A-R-G, not J, O-R-I-E. And it happened all the way back in, I believe, 1705. A long time ago. Very.
I love me the 18th century.
Right?
Okay. Are we in Europe?
Yes, we are in Lurgan, Lurgan.
Oh, that's a name. Okay.
Yeah, it's somewhere in Ireland, because there's a Church of Ireland that gets mentioned. So.
Okay, yeah, the name does track very Irish. Marjorie McCann.
McCall.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Okay. Marjorie was married to a Dr. John McCall, and they lived in Church Place in Lurgan. It's said that they were quite happy together.
Okay. Did you say Church Place?
Yep. They lived in Church Place. Yeah.
He was Brown of Priest Hill. Nope, that was the Patreon. Oh my god. I'm Elena of Alberta.
Yeah.
So stupid.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of information about this one, but Marjorie fell ill with a fever, and I guess the fever was really bad, and they didn't know what was causing it, and she passed away in 1705.
Oh, wow. So pretty quickly she just bit the dust.
Yeah, some things...
Uh-oh.
Some things
I don't like how much you're laughing.
No, I'm just thinking, because some things said that she was born in 1705 and then died in 1705, but had been married and had kids. And I was like, yes. And she was 1 year old.
Right.
I was like, cool.
The record keeping on the births and deaths of the womenkind were not as robust.
I was like, oh, born 1705, died 1705, mother and wife. It's like, what? What's happening? Yeah.
Damn.
But it was said, according to legend, that Marjorie was buried in the Shankill Church of Ireland Cemetery, which was near their home in Church Place.
I love these names. Shank Hill.
Shank. Yeah. Or it doesn't have a H, it's just Shankill. Like Kill. Shankill. Shankill.
Oh.
Yeah.
They would never pronounce the
Shankill,
H
maybe?
anyway.
And it was said that during her wake that they had, multiple people attempted to remove her gold wedding ring from her finger. Because she's married to a doctor after all. Gotta be worth money.
Oh my god. Rude. You
Well, they said it
drunken
might have...
Irish bastards.
It said that it was maybe to try and prevent a grave robbery from happening if she was buried with it, or for the person maybe like keeping it to themselves to try and sell.
Wow.
But everybody who tried, and I did read one thing that said even the husband John tried to remove her ring.
Well, that I could see. Like, that's legit.
Yeah.
If he wants
it said everybody was unable to remove it as her finger had swollen since her death.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, okay,
one of the...
yeah. You should probably make that decision right away then if you really want to keep it. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. One of the sources said, quote, after the wake, which was traditionally an attempt to avoid premature burial, as the family of the deceased would sit and watch over the body for a few days to see if the person awakened. So
it totally couldn't hurt, right?
Yeah.
If they've just had some sort of weird aneurysm or in a coma, like, it's not gonna hurt anything just to have them sit there for a day or two. Oh, I love this.
Yeah, so they try and take her ring off. Nobody can. So then they bury her. Because, again, she had, like, an unknown illness. So, like, after the wake and everything, they were afraid about the illness spreading to people. So they did bury her pretty quickly after the wake, I guess.
Okay.
As I kind of mentioned, grave robberies, quite common in the 1700s. It was mostly to provide medical schools with cadavers. I feel like without it, we wouldn't be as advanced in like medicine and stuff as we probably were by like the 1900s. So
I love books that deal with Victorian era fucking grave robbing and
it's
shit like
wild what's happening, and you're
so
like, oh, this was like medical students and stuff. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, I've read a few, and then like sometimes they just call them Burkers after those Burke and Hare guys, which I think were from Scotland or London or yeah. And then like I'd read a book and it'd be like, oh well, we strip them after we get them out of the grave because like you can be charged for carrying a body, but I don't know. I've heard a few different reasons why they would strip them. Like I think one of them was like if they're naked and just you look like you're just carrying your drunk friend home, they can't prove that there's any like grave dirt on them or that they've been buried or whatever because you like took them out.
Interesting.
Get out! There's a fly. Yeah. So like, people definitely knew their like little loopholes to get around the law. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So with these kind of things happening, the news of Marjorie's death spread, and since she had been married to a doctor, news of that gold wedding ring that she was buried with also spread.
Oh my god, how poor is this town? Jesus.
I don't know.
It's really shitty. They're like, oh, if you dig up that corpse, she might even have one gold ring.
Shortly after her burial, some stuff even said that night, a pair of grave robbers dug up Marjorie's remains.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah.
Have you no shame?
Working into the night, they removed the dirt until they reached her coffin. They opened it, and true to the rumors, there sat that nice, shiny gold wedding ring still on her finger.
It's
They
just
did
like
plan
the
to take...
whole digging up for one piece of jewelry is a lot to me that I've not heard of.
Well, um,
Yeah.
they are, like, planning to take Marjorie's body and, like, donate it to
Oh.
medical school. So,
Oh, that's
but,
right.
yeah.
They're snatching the body as well. You did say that. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But first, before that happened, they wanted to remove the ring for themselves. And after all, since she
Of
was
course.
dead, what harm was it for them to pull out a blade and start cutting off her finger?
Yes, that's usually how they do it. They just hack off the
Yeah.
finger.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Just like after a
But,
battle. Creepy little
yeah.
girl going around with her basket hacking off people's fingers.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
As soon as they started, however, Marjorie sat bolt upright, awoken from a coma-like state she had been in for days at that point, and eyes wide, she just
Jesus.
began screaming at them.
Oh my god, how terrifying. I'm so sorry, but
Right?
yeah, Jesus.
Just like, you trying to cut off my finger? Like,
I cannot even begin
yeah.
to imagine how that would be.
There's a couple versions of the legend. One version of it is that one of the robbers dropped dead on the spot, out of fright, and that
Nice.
and the other one must have run away. And then the other version is that they both made a run for their lives, and then, like, thought on their poor life choices and swore never to grave rob again. And it was like, oh, cool, sure.
Wow.
The
Just
moral
like,
of the story.
yes, don't grave rob. Yeah, that set them
Yeah.
to rights. I mean, yes, it is wrong. Like, I would not want my corpse to be desecrated, but this is just kind of hilarious. It's a little hysterical, you have to admit.
Yeah.
Like, they shit their pants
Oh,
and then
yeah.
maybe she went on to
I would
live a
have had a heart
life.
attack.
Oh, totally. I almost did when I was going up the stairs at my work and there had been no one. Like, it's a key card type of door, that sort of thing. So I push open
Yeah.
the door and I'm going up this stairwell. And then, like, I don't know, I had my earphone in, so I was kind of listening, but I didn't really hear anything like anyone come out of the office door behind me or the bathroom door or anything, which I would have heard. And then, like, I just, like, got a feeling and look behind me. There's a girl, like, right behind me. And I was like, I was supposed to be like, where the hell did you come from? Because, like,
Oh,
she
yeah.
must have come out of the bathroom or something because there was no one in the hallway when I went in that door. And so there's no way I wouldn't have not have seen her. And then I was like, oh my god. And she had been yawning. She was like, oh, sorry, I just I have these shoes on that are very quiet. And I was like, yeah, I did not hear you at all. Like,
Creepy.
it's just like, I almost got the feeling like the door was going to slam in someone's face and look back and yeah, there's someone there. Or it's like, whoa.
Yeah, where'd you come from?
Oh my god, it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, so Marjorie, now alive again, must have crawled out of her grave and then said to have walked the short distance back to her house. Just walked home.
I would just like to say that she realived herself just to combat the amount of people that say unalive themselves nowadays due to, like, YouTube fucking bans and shit. She's alive!
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then
crazy.
I think this lends, like, to the theory that this all happened the night of the wake or right after she was buried, because reportedly at home, her husband John and their kids were all still sitting surrounded by other relatives and stuff.
Gosh.
They were kind of having a little, like, celebration, talking about Marjorie, sharing stories, and comforting each other about her passing.
Oh my god. And she's staggering home? Like, covered in grave dirt.
They heard 3 knocks at the door, and John reportedly stated, quote, "If your mother were still alive, I swear that was her knock."
No!
John got up and answered the door, and standing on the other side was Marjorie, dressed in her dirty burial clothes with blood dripping from her partially severed finger.
Oh shit,
Just,
right,
yeah.
the finger!
Right? She's just like, "Honey, I'm home." Like, oh,
Can you put
fucking
this on
zombie.
ice? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, her husband's a doctor. He could probably give her stitches.
Yeah. Can you save this finger? Oh my god. Did she
Yeah.
still have the ring? I need to know. No. Obviously the details are not there.
Oh no, she still would have had the ring because they couldn't cut all the way through her finger.
I mean, yeah. She was not gonna give that up.
No. It rose her from the grave. What happened next is also kind of up for dispute. Most commonly, it's said that John is said to immediately drop dead from shock, just like apparently one of the grave robbers did. But
he fainted to death.
he fainted to death.
Wow, he really shouldn't have been a doctor then if he can't stand the sight. Oh, okay. I mean, I know
Right?
it's the sight of blood and also that maybe his wife is a ghost or resurrected now, but still, he should have a stronger constitution. I'm just saying.
Yeah. The family, obviously all happy that Marjorie is now alive, are now struck with the passing of John, who is then apparently buried in the plot that Marjorie had just crawled out of. So they immediately just
Wow.
bury John where Marjorie was just buried. We're like, oh, well, we already paid for this grave.
That does kind of stink of urban legend vibes. It's like very.
Right? Yeah.
Be careful.
There's other theories that kind of it had less details, but it kind of was like, oh yeah, that John may have made Marjorie ill, and then because he was having an affair or something, and then after she died and came back to life, that she figured it all out or whatever, and then they just separated or something.
Dang. I mean,
yeah.
I hope not. Seems like a tired trope that they always blame it on somebody cheating or something. I don't know. It's like,
Right?
okay.
Yeah. I think I only ran into that once, and then it was one of the first sources I read, and then I couldn't find that one again where it talked about that. Everything else said that he died from shock.
Yeah, seems almost like too poetic or something.
Yeah. What is commonly stated is that Marjorie goes on to remarry and have several more children, live a longer, happier life. She may have also apparently been pregnant at the time of her quote-unquote first death by an unknown suitor.
Right, because we don't know if she was 1 year old or 15 or...
Right.
I don't know. How old could you not have
She could have been a baby
45?
Herself. Who knows?
They did get betrothed at very young ages sometimes for royals' sake.
Less than a year old. Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh yeah, it's kind of like an arranged marriage. It'll be good. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Great.
What I do think is funny, so when Marjorie died the second time, which all the sources said, when Marjorie finally died, I was like, do you really need to say finally? Like you were wishing it upon her?
I know.
Finally died.
English is a funny language. That makes it sound very negative.
Yeah. I was like, what do you mean finally died? Like, God, can't wait to get rid of her.
This bitch, she's gonna act like she's alive again. Such a drama queen. She's fucking died. Yeah.
Can't even just stay dead. Yeah, so when Marjorie died the second time, she was returned to the, maybe it's Shankill graveyard.
Oh, right.
And her gravestone, which is part of the reason I chose this story, it was inscribed with Marjorie McCall, lived once, died twice, which I thought was hilarious.
Someone was like, perfect epitaph.
Yeah. The only
YOLO,
thing is
not
like
this bitch. I'm sorry.
you can find pictures of her like
Okay.
gravestone. It's still there in the cemetery, but there's no dates on it. That's literally all it says is just Marjorie McCall lived once, died twice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I find that a
Yeah.
little suspicious. Because
Yeah,
yeah,
it
no
could be a sign of the
years.
times. Like,
Yeah, maybe.
people be sick and
She
dying
was.
and not even in a place that's their home sometimes in those days. So, yeah, I don't know.
So I don't know what year she eventually did die at or anything
Right.
like that. She
1705.
is
It was all
remembered.
1705.
Yeah,
Sorry.
she died twice, got married,
She was
was
born that year,
born,
died twice.
ha-
It was a big
had
year for
17 kids. I don't know. Yeah, it was a
her.
big year for her. All the things, all of her life events happened. Um, it did say that she's remembered by the townspeople of Lurgan, and they report to occasionally see her wandering the cemetery, which
Ooh,
is kind of cool. She kind of
okay.
haunts the area, I guess.
I would hang in the
Uh,
cemetery.
I think the rest of this was from. Oh, maybe this was like Irish Central, irishcentral.com.
Irish Central. No, I don't know.
I think so, but there was a couple different sources I had that quoted the same guy. He's a
Mm-hmm.
historian, Jim Conway.
Excuse me.
Uh,
How much
he
does a
said,
Jim
quote,
Conway?
what? I don't know.
There's an old joke. How much does a Tim Conway? It's stupid. Anyway.
Uh,
Dad jokes.
Marjorie McCall was reputed to have lived once but died twice, as it says on her gravestone.
Dang.
This is the grave I have been asked many questions about, as there are a lot of people who are skeptical about the truth, whether the story is myth or not. And he goes on to say, I believe the story to be true based on my research. They found her body was
Okay.
warm, and oh, this is like, I didn't find this in any other sources other than right after this quote that he did in the one article saying they found that her body was warm when the grave diggers dug it up, and that there were scratch marks on the inside of the coffin. It seemed that Marjorie had been buried alive and had desperately tried to escape her coffin. But only like
Hmm.
one source said that. The rest kind of alluded to like that almost coma like
Right.
sleep that she was in. She was awoken from like the pain of them trying to cut off her finger. Um,
That would seem to make more sense to me anyway.
that's what I thought. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just like, yeah, if it's something that you do wake up from, sure, you could be warm and claw and stuff, but after they've been sitting out with you at a wake for 2 days, they haven't checked to see if you're warm then? Like,
Yeah, like,
I don't know. Something doesn't add up there. It makes more sense that, like,
yeah,
oh,
I
yeah,
thought that
when we
was a
actually
little
went to cut
weird.
into her or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, this is part of the article as well. Parish records held in the Public Records Office record the deaths of 9 Marjorie McCalls in Lurgan, 3 of whom were married to a John McCall. No
Oh.
record is held of the death in 1705 of a Marjorie McCall, who was married to a John McCall, but that
Mm-hmm.
Jim Conway explained how the records collapsed around that time due to famine, so it wasn't great record keeping. So just because
Right.
they have no records of like the death of a Marjorie McCall who was married to a John McCall in that year in that town doesn't mean it didn't happen, but
Yeah,
uh,
that's for sure. Like,
yeah,
we only recorded the most notable, like, people in history. Most of the time, white males.
Yeah.
If not, like, yeah, you probably wouldn't get a birth or a death date, or maybe even your proper name. You might just be Mrs. So and so or whatever. It's like, oh God.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The last thing I have, which I thought was kind of funny, was that there was a play that was being put on. It was like within the last couple years since COVID. This
Okay.
play was telling the story of Marjorie McCall, titled "Marjorie's Dead."
Oh
All the
shit.
articles I read said at the time that it was in the works, but it seems like it did get put into production. The play details the circumstances of events which led to her being buried in 1705 and the attempts to steal her wedding ring. It, from what I saw, it kind of seemed like there was like very minimal cast, like maybe only 5 actors or something.
Oh,
And
that's
that like
hardly
the
a proper
writer,
heist. You can't have an Ocean's
yeah,
11. Like only
yeah,
need
and
five.
I think I remember reading somewhere that it said that the director and the writer or something uh were also playing the grave robbers. So I was like, oh, so like
Nice.
this is a real low budget. It looked like there was no set props. It was literally just an empty stage and them. I was like, oh,
Made
cool.
for TV.
Yeah. Uh, but what I thought was interesting, I wanted to mention it, is because at the time of the articles, it said that counselors will decide whether or not to allow the drama to proceed inside the graveyard where she now lies. Because the play was intended to be held on a stage that they were going to build in the cemetery right beside her uh, her grave, and they were gonna do the whole play right beside
Oh.
her grave, or like through the graveyard, like the cemetery and everything. So they were waiting for permission
Oh.
for that. So it doesn't look like they got that. It seemed like from the pictures I saw that it was on a like black kind of stage inside, but I thought that was interesting.
Now next to her giant tombstone? Whoa, that is bizarre. Oh,
Yeah, I was like, what
okay.
do you mean you guys were trying to put this play on right beside her grave? Like, or
Oh,
inside the
damn.
cemetery? I'm
I've
like,
heard of
damn, this is
Shakespeare
a
in the
very
Park, but Shakespeare in the
this is
cemetery.
this is Marjorie's dead in the cemetery. Like,
Damn.
uh yeah, that's the story. Uh I thought it was
That's
interesting. Had
cool. I
a
do
couple
I
funny
enjoy
parts.
those ones. Yeah, like
And
sorry. I just got so excited. I was like, I feel like I've heard like maybe one or two similar ones, but I think like at least one was just an Outlander, so it was just a story where they're like, "Oh
yeah.
no, it's awake," and then she's like, "Oh, I think this lady just sat up and told you didn't spend enough on her wake, and she's had a pulmonary embolism. She's about to go way back down again." Like, but she
Damn.
she like got up just enough in time to like curse her son-in-law for not spending enough on her funeral, which made it kind of a pretty funny scene. Yeah.
Damn.
Uh,
Yeah.
but like that
There.
is very traumatic. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
What sucked me in was the pictures of uh
Picture.
her tombstone, that, or her gravestone, that just says Marjorie McCall, lived once, died twice. And I was like, oh, they had humor back in the 1700s. Like, I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Or whenever she died. I don't know when she finally died. When she finally just died. Stayed dead.
I think we can all agree she lived sometime around the early 1700s. Yeah. I don't know. Oh my
Yeah.
god. It's amazing.
Yeah, who
Um,
knows? Who knows if it's real? That's the Legend of Marjorie McCall.
Marjorie
So,
McCall. Have you ever heard the story about the Irish dude that they tried really hard to kill in like early America for like life insurance money? And his name was like, I don't know, Mick something, McDonald, or and I felt like it was like Rasputin, where like they just kept trying to like feed him so much alcohol and then like got him super drunk and like left him outside in the cold, and like no matter what they did to him, he just like keeps bouncing
damn.
back, and they're just like, fucking, I think his last name's Malloy. Yeah, they're like, Malloy, we're just trying to kill you for the insurance money because you're just the local alcoholic. And he's just like, won't die. it's
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
yeah, it's kind of in that, not in the same vein, but still a funny story or an interesting
I
story.
did run across a story that was like uh a woman that they were trying to execute or something at some point,
Oh
and
no.
she wouldn't die, so then it said like
Oh god.
her friends and like family members that were witnessing her execution by like hanging,
Oh god.
uh they
Did they?
started like grabbing onto her feet and like trying to pull her feet to try and
Yes.
break her neck, and that didn't work. And then
Oh no.
they like cut her down, and then they were like they tried all these other
What?
ways and she wouldn't die, so then they decided,
What?
because they had
God.
tried to kill her like 5 different ways that it didn't work, that they're like, oh,
She's
okay, well,
free?
you don't need, yeah, that she didn't need to serve her sentence, and then it said that she was freed
Well,
and
fuck
her charges
yeah.
were all dropped, and then she like lived the rest of her life. And I was like, what? All because she wouldn't die.
I mean,
It was
after
wild.
that,
Yeah.
seriously. No, like, the
uh,
hanging thing is very for real. Because that comes up in
yeah.
Outlander and other historical ones where, like, people are getting hanged for being quote unquote sodomites. Because,
Yeah.
straight people can have sex in the ass, but gay people, oh no, no! We'll put you to death.
Right.
And then, like, like with Lord John Grey from the Outlander books, like, he remembers having to pull on his, like, a friend of his legs when their neck wasn't snapped, because
Yeah.
essentially when you're being
Jeez.
hanged, you're not supposed to just strangle to death. Your neck is supposed to snap when you drop,
Yeah.
and if they don't do that, then they did not do it right, and that's even more horrifying. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
But I was just like, oh, she
goddamn.
was just cleared of all charges and then got to live the rest of her life in peace. It was like, oh, cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, damn. I can't remember what she was like charged with. I don't think it was anything
Oh, and that was the
like
woman, you're
too
right, that they
too
tried to
bad.
kill 5 times. Okay, yeah, I was like, wait, wait, wait,
Yeah.
sorry. Got mixed up with your story for a sec. Yeah, no, it's fucking crazy. And the way that we can argue that any types of execution are, like, humane is a little bizarre to me also, but I don't know.
Yeah. They say like with the cost, it uh for like the drugs and everything, to even do lethal injection, it costs more to do lethal injection than it does to keep the
Mm.
person alive for the rest of their life. Uh,
I mean,
which,
yeah, the whatchamacallit, economical costs are kind of baffling to me, but also just the moral costs if you do execute people and then you find out that sometimes your system isn't 100% of finding out if they're innocent. Like,
right? Yeah.
that's through my true crime experience, that's what I've found a problem with, where I'm like, maybe I am anti-capital punishment and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Don't even get me started. Earlier, I'm trying to eat supper, get ready for this, and then something comes up and stupid me. Oh, like, oh, what? Pat said something was going to happen in a Star Wars film that was going to depict something like rape or sexual assault, and we were like, that has not appeared in the Star Wars universe. It's not been an adult universe. And then I said something like, well, far be it for me to be like, argue that, like, murder is worse than rape, but, like, they can show all the, like, deaths in these sort of films and stuff, but then the minute they're going to show something that's like arguably asterisk a lesser crime, like, than killing
Yeah.
someone, and now they're going to get all up in arms. I was like, oh, and that just, I was like, I didn't want to open a debate, but that kind of, like, then Pat and Rain started
Yeah.
talking, well, what is worse? And I was like, oh god, oh no. I really didn't want to
Yeah.
talk
I
about this, but
mean,
yeah.
from the basis of most like criminal justice systems,
Yeah.
murder is like 10 times worse. So,
Right. It's like that you're supposed to get a longer sentence, or like, yeah, you're supposed to get a long sentence with rape too, you'd think, but Lo and behold,
No.
does not always happen. Anyway, I didn't mean to be like a Debbie Downer, but I guess we'll be right back for another astounding case.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
How do you think the world will end? Alien invasion? Nuclear disaster? Another, more deadly pandemic? I'm Jackie Moranti, and I'm the host of Cause of Death 100 Seconds to Midnight. I talk about the things that could obliterate mankind. I call it pre-apocalyptic nonfiction. The doomsday clock was set at 100 seconds to midnight from January of 2020 to January of 2023. On January 24th, 2023, the Board of Atomic Scientists moved the hands of the clock even closer to midnight. Now, it's set at 90 seconds to midnight, the closest it's ever been. From nuclear disaster to environmental threats to food and water crises, find out how mankind is destroying itself 1 second at a time. If you haven't listened to my podcast, you should.
We are back, and go listen to the podcast that you just heard about that I have not looked up what it will be later. Aircast promo.
Yeah, some Darkcast spotlight.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell, we've been going in alphabetical order for those ones. It's like, a Book of the Dead. Who will come up next? Ooh, Castles and Cryptids? No, we just put a podcast promo in our own podcast. Podcastception.
Yeah. Oh, that podcast sounds really interesting. You guys should go follow them. Donate on Patreon.
Who are these?
I love them. They're my
They
favorite.
sound way more interesting. Yeah. I said to Pat
I love that
earlier,
podcast.
Yeah. I got a notification earlier from Good Pods that someone named Chris, without like CRIS. Yeah, I'm calling you out, Chris. No. It said Chris followed you 6:33 p.m. and then I got one that said Chris followed you 6:50 p.m. I said, "Did he unfollow me?" I don't understand. I was so confused.
Well,
oh, Good Pods. I haven't even listened to Good Pods in like a couple days, and then it'll be like, someone followed you. I'm like, okay. Always
right.
a good feeling. Oh my gosh. Okay, we are rolling. Beautiful. Actually, I'm gonna plug in.
Yeah.
God forbid I might be under like 50%. Probably not. Probably not actually. 54%. Oh my god.
Oh, my
This is like Pat with his phone. He doesn't let it get like below like 40. I'm like, oh my god. Anyway.
Oh no. Before we started recording, I think the last time I checked what my laptop said it said it was at 23% or something.
Oh shit. I do be
Gordo,
like using mine very little and then be like, I'll put it back on the charger. And it's like not even that low. It's so funny.
Okay, Gordo. Don't be in my space. It's not that hard. Go. Be in the box or go down.
Would you like to hear a story?
Go down.
You just have to be quiet.
Now he's just gonna attack me. Is he gonna attack me?
Daring. What's up, buddy?
It's like he heard you. He's like,
I don't know.
You stay out of this, Alana.
Yeah. We were watching the Daredevil and playing with Fen earlier. Like, I don't know, he had his toy around and I threw it to him, and then eventually, like 10 minutes later or something, he came around with the toy in his mouth. So he's like, "Oh, Pat's like, he wants you to play now." And then I was like, "Okay," but like I'm still half watching the TV and just kind of playing tug of war. And then like Pat took over, and then all of a sudden we just both hear the dog kind of like do this like weird barking like yelp where he was like, "Woo woo!" And we're like, "Oh."
Oh, weird.
And I was like, I don't know what happened. Did you know that? Because he was playing with the toy with him. He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, maybe because we weren't paying attention to the tugging of warring, like something hit
Yeah.
the mouth or the eye or something that he didn't like. And I was like, I guess we'll just have to pay attention better. Because he does not usually make those kind of noises. Where you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, like you can tell that it hurt or whatever. I mean, not that he doesn't step on our fucking toes all the time and hurt the shit out
Right?
of us, but
He's like Gordo a bit. He doesn't realize his own size, that he's
no
like,
spatial
I don't think Gordo realizes he's way bigger than a normal cat. So like normal cat things are like him jumping off the back of the couch right onto your stomach is painful. Like,
Yeah. No, I heard that can, yeah. I was telling them at home here that I read this Reddit thread that was like, what's the dumbest way you've injured yourself? And there was a lot of like tripping and animals and like somebody's
yeah.
cat kept jumping off their thing like next to their face and then eventually like landed on their face and stuff. And I was like, oh no.
That sounds about right. Yeah. I
Oh,
know Gordo really likes to zigzag right under your feet. Especially when it's like mealtime, he's really excited, and so he's running in front of you, but he's like only running slightly faster than you. So then you're just like, "Kate, like just go faster than this. This is insane."
oh, totally. Yeah, we can be walking the dog, and then he's all like, "Oh, I want to go really fast until I want to sniff something, and then I'll go really slow right in front of you and stuff like that." And you're like, "Can you stop?"
Yeah. Yeah. Gordo likes to zip in front because if I'm leaving a room and I'd leave the light on, he knows I'm coming back to that room, so he won't leave. He'll just stay in that room. But if I turn the light off, he knows I'm not coming back to the room.
Yeah.
He's too smart. He's like insane.
Right?
So as soon as I turn the light off, he's like, "Oh, okay, we're leaving this room. Okay, I'll follow you." So then he books it in front of me, but he likes to be on my left side. So if I'm trying to go from my bedroom to the bathroom, which are
my
right beside
God.
each other, he will get in between me as I'm entering the bathroom because he's running down the hallway. So he catches me a lot of times in the morning when I'm exiting my room and trying to go into the bathroom, and he's running
He's on
out.
the same side,
Yeah, I've kicked him. I've almost tripped, but thankfully I know he's gonna do it. And I'm always looking down when I'm walking at home. I'm always looking at the floor because I can't trust him anywhere.
No,
He's
I
always
think
there.
you've seen me say that Fenrir's does the same thing when we're going downstairs to the basement.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like favor a side. It's just like whatever side you try to hug, he's like, let me get between you and the wall. And you're like, I was making space for you. Here I was holding space for you. Or whatever they say nowadays. Oh my God. Anyway, want to hear about British Airways accident flight 5390?
Sure. I accidentally already went into the drive and may have seen some pictures already. And I was like, oh no, oops.
Oh my God. Okay. And you didn't react. Amazing. Poker face.
I was like, well, I've watched a lot of episodes of Mayday, so
oh shit.
It's not a new concept.
Okay, that does sound like a fun show, but also the kind of thing that I turn on when I'm like on a trip because it's on in the hotel, and then I'm like, I shouldn't watch this before I'm like taking a flight home.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love those kind of shows.
You feel one bump and you're like, oh no, where's is it the phalange? This plane doesn't even have a phalange.
Yeah, from Friends. Oh my god. No, I am a bit of a nervous like flyer. Sort of.
Yeah.
I'm well aware how far up in the air we are. I just
Yeah, and how helpless and how you can't do anything to affect your own survival.
I know, and as I get
Other than if
older,
you
I don't know.
Other than
It's
if you
tough.
land in the ocean, don't inflate your life vest until you have exited the plane. That.
No, or now I'm scratching my arm. Or like the oxygen mask. It's like I don't know because having flown with my daughter, I'm like, does that make me more scared? Because I'm like, I have to be the one that feels like they're in control and not gonna panic. Like I don't know what it
Ah,
is, but like I've never been a super huge fan of flying. I don't think everyone is. It's scary. It's kind of scary.
yeah.
Cruises also scary.
I've never been on a cruise, but they're also pretty expensive. So,
And now I just harken back to this. There's a Modern Family episode where they're trying to teach Lily to um ride her bike, which I can so relate because we couldn't. Rain was really scared to try and learn to ride a bike.
yeah.
Still can't. So we'll see if she learns that before she's 30. But like with Lily, they're like, don't worry, riding a bike and getting on a plane, it's so safe. It's like so much safer than getting in a car. And she's like, I could die getting in a car. Like they just keep
Yeah.
saying things to just make her more scared.
This is worse.
I know.
And you're more likely to get struck by lightning. I could get struck by lightning?
Right. Yeah, come on, Mitchell. Let's not teach our kids to be scared.
Yeah, get
So
agoraphobia or whatever it
yeah.
is. Afraid to leave the house. The
Ugh.
house could collapse on top of me and I could die? What?
Those people should hear this story because these people persevered.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so this happens on the 10th of June in 1990. So it's like, I
Okay.
hate to say 35
Way
years
more
old.
recent. But it's a lot more recent than mine.
Oh, that makes me feel better. Because calling this
Mine
days
wasn't.
old makes me feel a little old. So yeah.
My case in between, sometime between, I think the earliest source said 1685 and 1705, and then some other year. I was like, oh, cool. So we're just throwing random stuff out there now.
And mine obviously has an airplane.
Yeah.
Also, one like post I read was like, timeline wise, you could have been on the Oregon Trail and conceivably gotten a fax or something, and I was like, what? How? That was already invented? Like, it like broke my brain.
Yeah, the things that people came up with, like
Right?
technology wise, is kind of mind blowing. Sometimes you realize, oh, that happened then. Like we had that capability, communication wise, and
Oh yeah. We're like, oh, telegraph or whatever, crazy. And now we're like internet and we're like, we're babies. We don't know what we're doing with any of
yeah.
this. Ugh, good lord. Okay. So on this lovely day in 1990, the Bach 111 was making its way on a routine route. I really wrote routine route. I did that. But
Oh no.
flight? Leg? I should have put leg. 'cause
Flight
it's a leg
plan.
of the journey.
Flight plan. It's a flight plan.
Y'all.
Its flight plan was at this knots or whatever.
It was routine though. Very popular with these British people that were going to on like holiday in Spain. It was going from Birmingham to Malaga, Spain. If I didn't say that.
Sounds lovely. I too would like to go to Spain.
Or just the ability to holiday almost anywhere in continental Europe if you live in
Yes.
the
Like,
UK. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump.
yeah, I would love that so much.
Sounds very cool. So for about the first 15 minutes, all was well, until one small malfunction turned into a major incident and quite simply a terrifying ordeal for the flight crew, especially.
Yeah.
All right. So, poor Captain Tim Lancaster. Not poor. He's great. He's awesome. He's doing good. He's leading the flight crew, as it were, with the first officer, Alistair Atchison. Every time I read that name, Alistair, I want to say Alistair, but I feel like it's more normally pronounced Alistair. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hot take, no. But it was him, so he's basically the co-pilot, and then there's 4 other cabin crew, and between the 2 pilots, they had, at the time, over 18,000 hours of experience flying, and over 2,000 total hours flying this type of plane in particular. So they were well versed. The plane itself was a standard rear engine plane known as a Bach 111, or in longhand, the Bach 111-500. And it was one of 35 that the British Airways used from 1974 to 1993. I love these, like, it had like a name also. This one was registered under the code GBJRT and called County of South Glamorgan, and named after a
Why?
region in South Wales. Why does
It's
it
like
have a
when
name?
people be naming benches, and you're just like, oh, it's bench in a park. Like,
Oh no! Don't get me started. I saw some memorial benches on this post earlier that was like, this bench made me cry because it was about a good dog. I was like, oh no. I have to go record. I can't be crying. Yeah, it's something like, this bench is for George. He was a bad dog, but a good boy. I was like, what?
What? That's so
Wow.
weird.
It is, but like I can kind of see it where I'm like maybe he got up to a lot of shit, like little Mr. Gordo or someone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um. So they were quite versed in flying this plane, and I just thought it was fun that before it had been named after a place in Wales, it had been operated in a West German carrier fleet. And when it was an aircraft in that fleet, it was called, or the fleet was called the Bavaria Flügelschlacht. Boy, did I really want to write that word out and try to say it, so I did. But they later renamed it Bavarian German Air in 1977. Boo! Flügelschlacht. Flügelschaft. No, it's so many syllables. Oh god, okay. Okay, so this was a pretty early morning flight. So after completing takeoff at 8:20 a.m., Alistair Atchison hands the control of the plane over to Captain Lancaster. Because his name was Tim Lancaster, I wrote to myself Tyrion Lannister. Just because well, the Lannisters were based off the Lancasters. But anyway, I was just being stupid. Gordo? Don't
I know.
start.
He came back in the room.
The cat came back the very next day. Oh my god.
Get in your box.
Oh, he's up on the table. You little shit. Okay, Gordo, listen in. So both pilots, I would think, are a bit relieved that the tricky part of takeoff is over, right? Because that's when they say a lot of the stuff can occur. Just like
Probably, yeah.
just like they're like, all car accidents happen around your house or whatever. So then they relax and they remove their shoulder harnesses and Lancaster loosens his lap belt as well. So they have the ones that go. They do have one that goes two straps over their shoulders, and then they have the seatbelt belt, like most um, flights do. You know, that little tiny
Oh,
seatbelt that
okay.
you think isn't going to do anything for you in the case of emergency.
Yeah.
So, okay, take off 8:20. A short amount of time later, meal service is starting, and at this, some sources kind of differed if it was like 13 minutes into the flight or 30 or longer, but if it took off at 8:20, it seems like most sources would verify that it happened at about 13 to 15 minutes into the flight. Just because timeline wise.
Yeah. I mean, depends what kind of meal or anything's happening. If it's just the snacks and drinks, they get to that pretty quickly. They
They
give you
do
your little
nowadays,
pretzels
yes.
and water.
And I wondered if some of the sources, if they're saying like an hour after takeoff, that they just didn't include takeoff, which could be up to like 30 minutes, just like landing can be like a half an hour. I don't know. But due to
Yeah,
the
maybe.
rest of the timelines, it seemed like it was only 15 minutes in at most. Yeah. Sorry, were you going to say something else before Gordo so rudely interrupted you?
No. Just shoving him away from the mic, and now he's left the room again. We'll see how long that lasts.
Okay. So basically at around 8:33 a.m. while they were flying over, I still did not look how to say this, but English language Didot, that's how it's spelled. Didot, I don't know. But they're over this town or whatever, Didot, at 17,300 feet. I can talk numbers. And that's when a loud bang went off in the cockpit. So to me, yeah, it was only about like 13, 15 minutes after they actually got in the air. It sounded like.
Like cruising altitude or something.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like they don't usually count the takeoff and stuff. And usually when they're starting to land, they're like, oh, yeah, we'll be landing in half an hour. Get prepared. And then they start. And yeah. One flight attendant, Nigel Ogden, was entering the cabin at this time. Pardon me. So, had to burp. So, to Nigel's horror, he watched as an explosive decompression blew out the left windshield panel, and Captain Tim was sucked towards the hole and out.
Yeah.
As a note, they usually called it the windscreen, but in the Americas, we call it the windshield. Is this the part of your car that keeps everything out of your face? Like,
I would, I don't know, I tend to think a screen is like a window screen has the holes. It's like
that's true.
It lets the air go in and out, and then the window pane is like the solid glass.
A screen door, would refer to something that's more like a mesh situation than
so I'm like, calling it a windscreen doesn't make sense to me.
My God, no, exactly. Yeah, to us that sounds really weird because we're like, that's a windshield. But I think it's just like
it shields the wind. It does not let the wind go through like a screen.
Screening your calls. Yeah, I think it's just a different terminology. But yeah, the way that Captain Tim Lancaster was sucked out of the hole of the windscreen panel, what have you, like basically if his legs hadn't fetched up on the controls and caught there, he would have been blown completely out.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
It's so crazy. And I was like, I've heard this story before, and I heard it this last week when I was trying to decide what to cover. And then I was like, you know what? This could kind of fit, and I love it. But anyway.
I don't know if I've heard one like this one with the pilot, but I've heard lots with flight attendants getting sucked out. and stuff. Yeah,
There's
that's most of the ones I know
yeah.
about involve flight
Oh,
attendants or passengers.
oh
Um,
God. I know
yeah.
there's one survival story of a flight attendant. Uh, I want to say like Vasenia or someone, or because she had a Russian sounding V name, and like yeah, I think the only reason she survived is because she gets sucked out of the back, and there was a cart or something that was kind of blocking her, and then also they were like, well, normally your low blood pressure would mean you can't work for the airline, but it actually saved you because you kind of went limp and then fell to the
Oh,
ground. Yeah, that one's pretty
oh,
insane too. You're like, oh,
wow.
okay. Um, but yeah, like the fact that there's like kind of a trope of these sort of stories is a little insane. But we'll get to
Yeah,
if there's a couple. I might have a similar story or two at the end as a mention.
damn.
I know it just doesn't seem like your everyday anecdote.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, as the captain gets yeeted out the window, the flight attendant that's named Nigel just launches himself forward and grabs his feet and holds on for dear life as the plane began to descend. So, the sudden decompression of the cabin caused another issue. The cockpit door had collapsed inwards from the force, jamming the throttle controls. Um, it was just like really hard to pilot this plane now, as the
Yeah.
pilot's half out and still half in his pilot seat. Um, oh yeah, and his body had also accidentally disengaged the autopilot on its way out, so that was also a problem.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, where's the autopilot in all of this? It's always
Literal autopilot, yeah.
it's always autopilot.
um, so they were now descending at 400 miles per hour in an extremely busy airspace as the oxygen was also running out quickly.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like I can barely breathe saying that. Because standard aircraft only have enough oxygen to last a few minutes, so getting down to a more breathable altitude was paramount to their situation. So I guess you don't always think about that. The oxygen masks come down, but they don't have like perpetual amount of oxygen on the plane to keep you going. They just
Hmm.
that's probably why they say put your own on before you put the child one on, because they're just an emergency feature, but
Yeah.
very
Interesting.
scary. Right? So now First Officer Atchison is continuing the descent, but not as at such a steep pace. He doesn't want it to be in like a
Yeah.
free fall.
That sounded insane to me, and I'm not even a pilot. It's like,
He's like, I need to get control of these controls. Yeah. Um, yeah, they're not nosediving, but he's taking the controls. So it's a move over to like the other seat. He's calling air traffic control and saying Mayday, Mayday, and trying to get some direction as to where they might be able to land. Um, and as he's getting directions, let's check back in with Nigel Ogden, the most British sounding man ever, who is holding Captain Lancaster by his feet.
yeah.
Oh
I'm looking at this picture. I don't know if this is like a picture or a movie they did or a reenactment. I find it hard to
my God.
believe that while this is happening, somebody snapped a photo, but
I know. Yes, spoiler, it is a reenactment. And it took me like a few
okay.
websites to find that fact before I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Because how else could they get all those pictures? Yeah, like of them hanging
Yeah.
onto his legs and shit. Yeah, right?
I was just
That
like,
one?
oh, that doesn't seem feasible because that would have been another person that could have helped hold him. It's like, why is
I
this
know
person
who's sitting
taking
there taking
pictures?
pictures. That's exactly what
Better document this near death experience.
I
Let me take 1,000 pictures instead of helping.
thought. No, I had the same question. I think I have it at the end, like I do if there's like a movie about it. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Nigel said, who's holding him? I whipped round and saw the front windscreen had disappeared, and Tim, the pilot, was going out through it. Sorry.
Yep.
So crazy. He had been sucked out of his seatbelt, and all I could see were his legs, Ogden said in a 2005 piece published in the Sydney Morning Herald. So Ogden recalled, I jumped over the control column and grabbed him round his waist to avoid him going out completely. His shirt had been pulled off his back and his body was bent upwards, doubled over around the top of the aircraft. So that was one of the funniest parts to me, that his shirt got like sucked off his body. But anyway.
Yeah. Must not have been tucked in very well. Like, I don't know.
I know, it's like when people land, they don't have their frickin' shoes on. So, Ogden said he was holding onto Lancaster, quote, for grim death, but I could feel myself being sucked out. And also, I would just like to apologize for the amount of times I have to say sucked out in this episode. It did not go by my notice. Okay, so it continued. Other flight attendants rushed to help. The pressure made Lancaster weigh the equivalent of 500 pounds, according to Ogden, who got frostbite and a dislocated shoulder during the incident. Yeah, that was pretty crazy to me. Because, like, the pressure of the Air Force trying to continue to suck him out. Oh my god. If it reassures anyone, he's probably gonna make it because this is a near-death experience one.
Yeah.
I know that probably
I hope
spoils
so.
a little bit, but it's still pretty
I mean, I'm
crazy,
looking
right?
at pictures of him in a hospital bed, so I'm
Right.
assuming he didn't die. Just standing around posing with his dead body sitting up in a hospital bed. Like, oh, great.
Oh my god, though. Seriously, night class, one of them did a segment on funerals, and they had, you ever see the ones or hear stories where they like display a corpse in like a window? It was kind of like that, but like,
Yeah, there was like drive-through funerals for a while.
she talked about the drive-through ones. I had never heard about that. Oh my god.
I can't remember where I heard of it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like the one guy she had said was an EMT and was set up in his like ambulance, and that was the one that was like, really? That's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, they will like pose people. They'll be like, this person was a football player, so they'll like pose them like they're doing their like position in football or something, and you're just like, God. Like, you know, they gotta like break their bones and shit to put them in that pose, right? Like,
yeah,
they went through rigor mortis already. Oh, you're manipulating.
Seems a bit much.
Yeah, brutal.
It's just something about it's off the way you guys are doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so crazy though. I hadn't heard of the different ones before. Okay, sorry. Oh yeah, his shirt had been sucked off. All these crazy things. Oh, and then like basically, if the second co-pilot, the first officer Atchison, if he had also taken off his harness and like loosened his lap belt the same way the first pilot did, he would have also been, like expedited out of the plane, explosively forced.
That's scary.
It just seems like such chance, right? Like where you're like, oh, what are these seatbelts gonna do? But like literally the pilot, like he loosens one of his seatbelts and it's like, well, that probably would have kept you in the plane in the case of this emergency. Yeah. Ugh.
That's why in a plane when they're like, oh, they turn the seatbelt light off, and then everybody's like, and they're just taking their seatbelts off. I was like, nope, I'm always going to be wearing mine. I'm never not wearing mine if I'm sitting down. Like,
Yeah, I treat the
I
plane a lot like the movie theater. I'm like, if I don't have to get up and go to the bathroom, I will not. It's just
yeah,
not gonna
exactly.
happen. Never fly hungover. Also, that's
Clutching onto
terrible.
this toilet for dear life as we're flown through the sky. Just,
Yeah. Flying sucks. Have you
yeah.
flown anywhere since we came back from Vegas? I feel like I've only been to like the
Uh,
Maritimes in Canada.
yeah, we did Los Angeles for Disneyland and stuff. That would
Oh,
have been
oh, that's cool.
over a year ago now already.
And you didn't have
So,
to take any COVID tests that time? That must have been so nice.
no.
That would
Ugh,
have really made
it
it
was so
annoying
annoying.
because I know, because Vegas was already expensive. I wish we could have like a do-over where we do a better trip where it
Yeah.
could be more fun and it's not so stressful. Like, yeah, that's fun though. I forgot you guys had gone to Disney.
Yeah. We're trying to figure out Mexico, I think, for Christmas. But we'll see. The flights
Mm.
we originally figured out and we're gonna book
Mm-hmm.
must have had a sale for that week or something, and then they went back
Oh
because they're like
no.
$1,000 more per
Oh
person
no.
than for the exact same thing.
Oh, of course. No, that's like the bane of
Yeah.
your existence as a travel agent, where people like, should I book the flight or should I book the flight? You're like, I have no way to know if the flight's going up or down. And like, honestly, like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying not to say you guys didn't book it early, but like, until you book it, the earlier the better because it can just fluctuate so crazy, and that's insane. Like $1,000 a person.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Um
nuts.
yeah, between everything, it's like crazy because I think my brother figured out. Well, he sent me screenshots of the original quote, and it was about $2,600, almost $2,700 a person. And
Oh,
then he's like, it was like, because I was going back and forth for work, because that's a hard time of year to get off. And then
yeah.
we were trying to figure out like, could we go in November? Could we go in January? What works best? So we were doing all these
Mm-hmm.
different dates, and then by the time we
Yeah.
settled on a certain date and he went to like check the prices again, he's like, oh, everything's like way more. Like it's
Ah,
in the 3,000s, like 34 to 3,600 a person. It's
damn.
like, what the fuck? Like,
I
yeah.
feel that. Not so much from personal, but yeah, from people always booking and the
Yeah,
price
so
going
we
down or
like my
changing.
work, I kind of have to talk and give a
Oh,
updated like heads up that hey, we're watching the prices, and I'll kind of let you know, but it might be shorter notice, but
yeah.
um
Nothing you can do other than that, really.
yeah. Yeah. So
Brutal.
we'll
I would
see.
just
It might not happen.
try. People would be like, you're a travel agent. Can you find me a cheaper flight? I'm like, and I would try. And I would try, and it'd be
Yeah.
like, well, if you want to take a shittier flight, like, yes, this is the cheaper one. They'd be like, well, those times kind of suck, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, yeah, then that's why the other options are more money.
Yeah,
Not
because
like,
they don't
I,
suck.
exactly, exactly. And not again saying that's why, like, your guys' flight prices went up, but like, yeah, it would be annoying when people would just book on a whim or something. Oh, we got you to all price out my stuff, and then the flights were cheap on Grubhub or no, I don't know. So they just like book
Yeah.
them, and you'd be like, oh, thanks. It was the worst.
Yeah. I'm like, because my brother punched in everything exactly, because he still had the pictures he sent me. So he punched in everything exactly like it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's what you have to do to try and compare, of course.
yeah, and nope,
Yeah.
it's a totally different price. It's like, wow, that's so sucky. So yeah,
I
we'll see.
know. Bunch of other people booked
But
probably. Makes sense. Because it's like, it's
yeah.
live availability and shit. So, like, yeah, it can change so fast.
Yeah,
So
it's not bad.
annoying though.
Not bad for me, but when you get to like Trav, Kate, and Rooney, it's a separate person now. And then like my mom and dad, when you're talking like $1,000 more per person, that's a third,
It's
like
insane.
30% more. Like
Already
each person.
$1,000 a flight is prohibitive for most families to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But did I tell you that I had a company come up in our, like, I was processing plates and shit, and this company came up. I had to check if they were active, and the company name was Donna Rooney Real Estate.
really, that's so funny.
I was like, okay.
What did they do? Like,
Yeah. But
like,
it's her not like, I didn't know if the last name was Rooney. It wasn't clear because the car was registered in the
yeah.
company name, obviously, but I was just like, Donna Rooney. Pretty sure that's how they spell Rooney, like Rooney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Funny.
It was. I enjoyed it. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I did not get to um him outside the plane, I don't think. So there was a quote. Sorry. I'm like, let's get back to this. Anyway. Um the captain, it said his face was banging against the window with blood coming out of his nose and the side of his head. His arms were flailing. Most terrifyingly, his eyes were wide open. I'll never forget that sight as long as I live. And that was
Damn.
Nigel. Yeah. That sounds pretty scary. So First Officer Atchison was being directed to the nearest airport that they could land in, or make an emergency landing at, I should be more specific. And there were two that were fairly close.
Not close
But
enough, because I mean, every
no.
second probably feels like an hour for
Yeah,
everybody
like I'm not
involved.
sure how far away the other one was, but they were like, okay, the closer one that doesn't have as long of a runway, like Atchison was like, fuck it, let's go for that one. Even though we might have too much
Yeah.
fuel and we're too heavy and we might taxi down the runway a little too hard, I'm guessing. Like they might overshoot it, but he's like, no, we gotta land now. So they're landing out this Southampton, no matter the risk. The flight attendants
Damn.
apparently tell everyone on board to brace, and though they come in hot, no passenger or other injuries are reported. And he lands the plane successfully at 8:55 a.m. No more damage.
Damn.
Right?
I mean, I'm sure
Captain
once they got
Sully.
going at like a slow enough speed, they could pull them back in the plane even before they fully came to a stop. Just in case they overshot the runway, but
Ooh,
yeah.
yeah, I'm not too sure. I think everyone, I don't know. I think everyone's concentration was on their specific task, whether it was holding him or landing the plane, but
Yeah.
I can't speak to that. But like, it is an amazing story that everyone, spoiler alert, next line is alive. Like, they didn't think he
Yeah.
was alive. He'd been banging about the outside of the
Yeah.
fucking cabin.
Like,
I would not think he was alive. I did not think he was alive. To me, I've heard this case covered like maybe 3 times now. Like, so I'm not super familiar with it, but like I get to hearing about it and be like, oh, this sounds familiar. And then you're just like, is this Schrodinger's pilot? Like, until he's in, like, you don't
yeah.
know if he's alive or dead. You don't know anything. Oh. But yeah, amazingly, about 35 minutes after takeoff, they landed, and Captain Tim Lancaster at that point had spent more than 20 minutes of that time outside of the plane.
Wow.
Sorry, I can't say it without hearing like dad jokes where they're just gonna like put you on the wing or something, and you're like, no. This guy like literally flew outside of the cockpit. And amazingly enough, he had some recollection of what had happened to him when he was outside of the plane.
Oh my
Um,
god, I bet it isn't awesome. Like,
I mean, I cannot with this quote. He said he was aware of being outside of the airplane, but that really didn't bother me a great deal. That's what he said.
what?
Oh, I
That's not
love
where
him.
you're supposed to be. I would be bothered.
And then I was
Didn't bother
outside of
me.
the car.
I wasn't afraid. Like,
Oh, the way they're such badasses in such a nonchalant way.
yeah.
Okay, so he said, what I remember most clearly was that the fact that I couldn't breathe because I was facing into the airflow, he said.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I can't even have the windows open on the highway. Like,
Right. So I can kind of understand how that seems like it was like pouring air into his face, for lack of a better word.
yeah.
Um,
It's just like rushing past him or something.
yeah. Hang on, I have my other headphone in because this one. Yeah, so basically he tried to reposition himself. Okay, never mind. I was like, I can't hear you. So he he remembers trying to reposition himself so he could intake the air easier, where it was easier to breathe. And that's about all he remembers after that.
Probably for the
Yeah.
best. I mean,
The way I was so shook when I found out that he was like conscious, I was like, "Oh, really?" Pardon me. So, from what they learned after the missing window pane, plus most of the 90 bolts that were holding it in place, were found in a place called Cholsey. I don't know. That's a terrible name. Cholsey? Like Chelsea, but not Chelsea? No, it's terrible. Oxfordshire is where it is. And Cholsey's town is about 9 kilometers from Didcot, or where the decompression happened, where they were in the airspace above Didcot.
wow.
Um, yeah. So I'm sorry about these place names. It's geography. But they knew kind of where to start the investigation, where they found the remains of the windscreen slash windshield. Um, and they start looking at all the parts and any maintenance that had occurred on the aircraft in the immediate precedent. So it came to light that most of the bolts that had been used to hold the windshield were not the proper size to hold the windshield in. About 84 of the 90 total bolts were just slightly smaller than they needed to be to hold that properly.
Well, you can't have 84 out of 90 be wrong. That's insane.
I feel like I'm telling it to a supervisor. I'm like, Kelsey, they were mostly correct.
Oh my
I know.
god.
I know, you should be a little disappointed. Like, although to the naked eye they were the same, they were off by like a fraction of a millimeter from what I heard. I didn't even write it down because it
Wow.
was too hard to understand. And you're like, okay, well, we probably shouldn't be eyeballing things. But then you learn that they like have to do a lot of routine maintenance in a short amount of time, and that this is not an uncommon sort of practice. Just to be like,
Wow.
looks really close. Because it
Well,
really did. But that's what happened. So this was a routine maintenance performed about 27 hours prior to the flight. So like, almost the night
oh,
before.
so it wasn't even something that like they did and then it was months later. It was like immediately didn't fail.
Yeah, I feel
Oh.
like
Or
I don't
pretty
know if they had,
immediately. Maybe
yeah,
a
if they had
couple
been
flights
replaced with
later.
the regular bolts, it would have held. But once they were just a little too small and there was just a little too much wind pressure or whatever, it was like done for. It was over.
Damn.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I remember listening to this one on, it came up on a podcast just when it was like, Spotify suggests you listen to the newest episode of this that you listen to. And it was like, Doomsday had covered this one. And after he talks about the disaster, he'll always be like, okay, so what happened? And I was like, yeah, what happened? Seems so crazy. But like, yeah, it was basically one of those things where it was just a little bit off, just like, isn't that the Mothman Bridge thing too, or one of those bridge disasters where it's like something was just a bit off and then it eventually collapsed?
I don't know.
No, I can't remember now either. But yeah, it was like fractions of an inch, a millimeter, whatever, and this was replaced about a day before the flight. Honestly, I think what came about after that was a little bit more oversight on the inspections and stuff. Although,
Yeah.
sadly, I couldn't find very much about that, which I feel like we should be asking the questions of, well, what do we do now to make sure that didn't happen again? You know? Like, I don't know. So, many accolades and congratulations were given to the heroic crew who saved their lives, all of their lives, really, of the whole flight.
Yeah.
First,
Jeez.
I mean, could have been much worse, right? First Officer Atchison and Flight Attendants Susan Gibbons and Nigel Ogden got the Queen's Commendation for valuable service in the air. I'm not sure if she helped to hold on to the feet or just helped to keep the passengers under control, because they also did mention a couple other flight crew, which was John Howard and a Simon Rogers. So I'll say they also get an honorable mention. They maybe also help to help.
I can imagine, like, when the depressurization happened, there was probably, like, turbulence in the plane, and then the passengers are like, what happened? And they're like, the pilot got sucked out of the plane. We're hanging on to his feet, and we're gonna try and land. And they'd be like, what? Like,
you're so right. Someone's having to keep everyone all calm, and that's probably Susan. And she doesn't have to hold on to the legs in the cabin. That doesn't mean she isn't keeping shit down in the
like
passenger cabin.
In the 90s when there's hardly any movies.
Everyone's like, I'm out of smokes. Because they could all smoke on the plane. Oh God.
Yeah.
Crazy times.
That's wild.
So there was a Polaris Award in '92 for Officer Atchison. And he continued to fly, actually, still for British Airways and then for a company called Jet2, and only retired in June of 2015 on his 65th birthday. Good for him.
Damn.
The both of them, because that's the one that landed the plane, and then Captain Tim Lancaster, who was the one that was partially sucked out of the plane, ha ha ha, also returned to flying after 5 months of recovery on his part. So
I don't think I could be in an airport if that happened.
The way that he's like, I don't know if he doesn't remember enough to have PTSD or he's just a better man than I could ever be, but like, holy shit.
Yeah.
He
like landing a plane that's having problems is like, you can retire. Like, you did everything great. Like, great job. But like, basically being sucked out of the plane. You don't need to do it. And just write a book.
Get a different job. And I think they were both quite young. If I recall, they were like in their 40s at the time. Yeah, that would make sense. If then he retires in, or no, one of them retired in 2008. Anyway. Okay, let me just finish this because now I have to pee. Damn it. Okay, so he went back to work after 5 months. He flew for EasyJet and retired in 2008. And I couldn't find how many years he had flown, but a fucking shit ton.
Okay.
And finally, the plane itself, which was the good old County of Glamorgan, her stupid name. She went on to work for Jaro International, which was a Romanian airline, until 1993. So she also retired on her 65th year of service. No, I don't know. 65th birthday.
I don't think they keep planes in the air that long. Not
No.
commercial ones. They're almost like constantly being flown.
Oh yeah, exactly. Okay. Okay, good. It's literally like 2 sentences left or something. So National Geographic recreated this incident on the 2005 documentary Air Crash Investigation Blowout. So that provides us with all the amazing pictures, which for the longest time I was like, I don't understand how they got such good pictures of this incident when it happened. Yeah. Nobody had a fucking cell phone camera, so I was also like, wait, what? And you picked up on that pretty fast, where you're like, how was so many pictures? I don't know. I think it was like my 5th source before I found that someone had done a documentary. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was like, how they got a picture of him from above? His shirt sucked off. Like, what? But there was a honorable mention of a couple of similar incidents on one of the web pages I read, which one was in China. So this was May 14th in 2018. And because China, all the names are hard, but the Sichuan Airlines Airbus A319 flight 3UA633 that was heading from Chongqing Jianbel International to Lhasa Gongar in Tibet, where this first officer was partially ejected and survived with only minor injuries to his right eye, facial abrasions, a sprained wrist, and the emergency landing happened in Chengdu. And in that case, the cause was moisture damage to a seal on the screen.
Jeez.
It's pretty crazy. Like, some of these minor things are like, sometimes rocket launches are like, well, we had never launched this cold before, and then that Challenger thing happened, and we exploded. You're like, yeah, this shit matters. Like,
right?
Oh. And it was weird because I thought someone said on Reddit that like they thought someone had gotten partial blindness from the main story I told, and I was like, I think you're thinking of this one where he got injuries to his eye, because even Captain Lancaster, who was outside of the airplane, there wasn't any reported injuries to his eye, so I'm not sure.
If he had any injury to his eye, he wouldn't have been allowed to continue flying. So he wouldn't have been a pilot anymore. Like, they wouldn't have allowed it. So yeah.
It's just the way you have to be so perfect, like physically, for the army, like and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff you can't even like need glasses and like that kind of stuff. Because
I remember I
clicked
on like the article link about my main story and was like, is there any other tidbits that are unconfirmed? And then people were just like, I think a little bit conflating some of the similar cases where they're like, I think he got partial blindness, and I was like, I didn't read that, but I didn't like stop to argue it. Yeah, it's just unfortunate what can go on the internet, where sometimes it's the truth comes out, and other times it's just the rumors go to live. And the only other one like that, that one site mentioned was a flight in Hawaii that sadly did have a death to it, but was Aloha. So happy. No. Aloha Air Flight 243. It was an inter-island flight on a Boeing 737 aircraft that similarly but also terrifyingly worse, it abruptly lost its whole roof mid-flight. So
Oh, that's the one I know.
Okay,
That's
I
the
don't
one
know
I
what
know.
caused that one to
Yeah.
have its explosive situation.
I don't
It
remember.
it didn't have a lot of details on that one, but it was just like listed. And it was
Yeah.
in 1988 and had one death because a flight attendant died when she was suddenly ejected from the plane on that one. So
Yeah,
they were
that's
not
the one I know.
sleeping. Okay.
Yeah, she was
And that
like
makes
walking through
sense.
the middle or something, and then when the roof went, she just right out, and then
Really?
yeah, and the other, I think, flight attendants were still in the seats, or they were far enough from it that they were away from like the airflow that they didn't get sucked out.
Like that can make a huge
Um,
difference where you're at in the plane when it like something
yeah,
goes wrong. Yeah. No, that's interesting because um I'd heard of at least one case where I don't know if it's Vasenia or whatever the name is just kind of escaping me, but she's like a flight attendant that had probably not supposed to be a flight attendant because she had kind of low blood pressure and stuff, and they tried to deny her, but like she got in anyway. But then, like, due to her low blood pressure, when the event happened, she like passed out, and then the
yeah,
beverage cart like kind of smashed into her at the back of the plane, but like all of that conspired to let her survive it, whereas everyone else like died. And I was like, how the fuck? Like some of those
yeah.
cases are
There's some
just
weird.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to love watching Mayday because it was wild, but there was a lot of stuff
Okay.
about like um there was like depressurizations from like the passenger windows getting
Ooh,
ruptured, or there was a couple
yikes.
episodes of like hijackings, bombs,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff that happened, but most of it was like actual malfunctions with the plane. Sometimes like
Right.
a lot of times it was like the tail section that would get damaged and people near the back of the plane um
Yeah,
would get injured. But
for sure.
yeah, the Aloha 243 does sound, as soon as you said the plane number, I was like,
Okay.
why does that ring a bell? It was so long since I would have watched that though, but I'm
And
pretty
that's
sure it's
like
that one.
yeah, there wasn't a lot of details on that one in the article I read, so I just that's basically all I had. But yeah, it's interesting, like you say, where they're like, oh, maybe they used to deal with it a little differently, or I don't know. But creepy. Just
Yeah.
we're all goddamn
Uh,
scared when we have to get on a plane, I think. Most people.
always be wearing your seatbelt. Always be wearing your
Oh my
seatbelt.
god.
Your your
Yeah.
uh your the bottom part of your seat is almost always a flotation device.
That's true.
I said don't inflate your life vest until after you've exited the airplane when you're in water, because if you inflate it while the plane is sinking, you will get stuck inside the plane. So you need to be
Oh yeah.
exited the plane
Yeah.
before you inflate the life vest, and it'll help bring you to the surface of the water. Because like 80% of the people that survive plane crashes in the ocean die because they inflate their life vest at the wrong time. They inflate
No
it too early.
way.
Yeah, most people die from that than the actual plane crash in the ocean. So, uh,
Ooh,
it's
scary
not good.
statistic.
Yeah, they used to always talk about that on Mayday. It was like such a bad thing. They're like, oh no, people panic and they just pull the cord before they've even exited the plane, and then
Yeah,
they're stuck.
man.
Like, yeah, because they can't swim
I could,
down to like
yeah.
exit the plane through any of the openings. So, yeah,
Yeah, that's
not
the
good.
thing in a lot of situations. And even driving a car, I'm like, oh, I've got to teach my daughter. I'm just going to tell her a lot of times just don't panic is pretty good rule of thumb.
Yep.
Whether, yeah, you don't know if you're up or down in an avalanche or like if you get sucked in by a tornado or a hurricane. I don't know. But then I was like,
A
even
lot of
sometimes it's just
times it's
like
just go
a
limp.
big truck.
They say
No,
that's
but
why
like,
like drunk.
Yes. Yeah. Because your muscles
Yeah,
like don't
like
tense up.
yeah, like drunk drivers a lot of times survive serious car accidents that the other
Yeah.
people will die because they're the only ones that didn't tense up.
Which is a very unfun statistic. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't love hearing that. Very
Yeah.
sad. At least most of us nowadays don't consider drunk driving like socially acceptable. I think it was a little bit
Yeah,
more back
I
in the
I do like
70s.
that.
Yeah.
I do like that that
Yeah,
trend.
exactly. Exactly. I'm
Uh,
not saying I've never like had a drink and gone to the store, but like driving drunk is not fucking cool, man. And we all know that.
yeah,
Like you just have
yeah,
no excuse. Yeah. No, that is crazy though, and like ugh, I don't know, man. I forget what I was gonna say, but like doing this research, I was like, well, I was like, I don't know what to pick because like you can try to Google certain specific things like near death experiences where people don't die or like it's not just all about what they saw. Like you'll just get these little anecdotes and stuff, right? And when you try to pick a case, like
yeah.
sometimes that's hard. You're like, no, I need an actual case.
See, and I just googled resurrections, and it went straight to Jesus, and I was like, okay, not what I intended. I was like,
Hell no, we won't go. Yeah.
and then I found an article that was talking about a bunch of like historical figures from like ancient times that also supposedly like different gods and like Egypt gods that are said to have been
Oh.
resurrected. And I was like, that's also not what I'm looking for.
Although it does sound
But
intriguing. But
yeah, I
yeah,
was like,
it was a tough
oh,
one.
damn. Yeah.
Shit. Well, I guess I forgot anything else. We decided on a topic for next week and I thought we covered it and then we were like,
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever covered it. Let's do our
We both thought we had.
Yeah. It's hard, y'all. I try to remember all the countries, but there's a damn lot of them, more than I can name. But yeah, it's fun to do different continents and cultures and stuff. So I think this will be a good one.
Did you say what one? I didn't hear.
Argentina true crime. True crime.
Okay.
I don't know. If I didn't, we're heading to South America.
Yeah. Woo.
I don't know, man. It's it's been a long week. It's been a long weekend. I'm taking some days off this weekend because I've just felt so burnt out between, podcast stuff
Yeah.
and work stuff and then sometimes I feel like I just don't go to bed in time and I'm like, oh, I've, had something to drink these last, 4 or 5 days and then you're just like maybe I just need a good sleep and a weekend.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
yeah, taking a couple extra days off this weekend even though it's not Easter is not a big thing in my house, but maybe I'll have time
Yeah,
for
not
Easter
really in
basket.
mine either.
Yeah. Still,
Well,
good time to hang out with peeps and stuff, so we'll see. All right. We'll catch you next time for Argentina True Crime.
yeah. Bye.
Keep it cryptic. All right.
Thank you for listening to Castles and Cryptids. We love all our listeners and appreciate every subscriber, every new review, every listen, rate, and download. Our music is by Kobe Off Air, and our cover art is by Antonio Garcia. We are also a proud member of Darkcast Network, where you can find the best and spookiest of all indie podcasts. Follow us on social media, where we are at Castles and Cryptids on mostly all of the things, now including TikTok. Check out our bonus content on Patreon, cryptid clashes, video minisodes of your host making asses of themselves, Ask Me Anything, quizzes, other special episodes, and more. Starting at just $2 a month, you can get 1 to 2 extra episodes, depending on your level. We produce, edit, and research everything ourselves, and any support you can lend helps us to keep it cryptic.